Welcome to the Sales Lead Dog Podcast, hosted by CRM technology and sales process expert Christopher Smith, talking with sales leaders that have separated themselves from the rest of the pack. Listen to find out how the best of the best achieve success with their team and CRM technology. And remember, unless you are the lead dog, the view never changes.
Welcome to Sales Lead Dog. My guest joining me today is Nick Restrepo. Nick is the Senior VP of Sales for World Emblem. Nick, welcome to Sales Lead Dog.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me.
It's excited to talk with you, Nick. Nick, tell me a bit about World Emblem. What do you guys do?
So World Emblem, we are the world's largest emblem manufacturer and garment decorator. We manufacture decorations from everything you can think of, headwear, shirts, shoes, book bags. So if you want to put a decoration or a personalization on it, we're the people to talk to.
That's awesome. I love that. Anyone in sales, that this is our world, right? There's some element of swag to everything we do.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we live in a world of swag, and we also live in a world that people want to make things their own, whether it's with your brand and your logo, or you have your one of one.
Yeah.
And that's really propelled our company and our brand to the forefront of a lot of different other companies out there.
Yeah. What are the trends you're seeing in your world?
So it's funny. I'm going to say that they're almost oxymorons, or they're contrasts. We're seeing a lot of modernization and a lot of bling. Let's call it bling. Things have gone metallic. They've gotten more dimensional. They've gotten these beveled angles. But we're also seeing this huge movement of retro. Chenille is back in. People are liking direct embroidery, or things that look like direct embroidery that may not necessarily be like direct embroidery. So we see like these two contrasting worlds happening on us depending on the audience.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. I love that. I love hearing about stuff like that because it's not my world. I have no idea what's going on. But to me, it's always fascinating to see how, business like yours, how you guys measure, because you have a different view of what's going on with sales because you're selling to sellers, so you probably have a somewhat of a different perspective than the rest of us.
Well, you know what? It's a really astute observation you make. We've always looked at ourselves as the forefront of what the economy is doing, because part of our business really is tied into uniforms, right?
Yeah.
When the economy is booming, you see companies out there hiring frontline workers, factory workers, machine operators, and they're outfitting them in uniforms. And we're decorating those uniforms. So like we kind of are a telltale industry where we see like where the economy is going. And then we also play in this people's let's call it their ancillary spending, things that they normally wouldn't spend on, right? Like, hey, I'm going to go buy a couple of hats and a couple of one-of-one sneakers, and we see the spending going there too. So like, again, we know when the economy is tending to ramp up and people are spending more than they used to, and when companies are out there hiring or laying off.
Yeah. Yeah. That's wild. Nick, when you look back over your career, if you had to sum it up into three things, what would those three things be that have really driven and led to your success?
Oh man, so that's a really good question. If I had to sum it up with three things, I'm going to say, listen intently. And I don't mean like listen to answer, but really listen to what the person across the desk from you is saying to you. Be humble. Check your ego at the door. It's not so much about you, but it's about the other person. And always be looking to help. How can we find solutions? And even if my help is telling you I can't help you and set you free to go somewhere else, be looking to resolve that. Be looking to give the person a genuine help.
Yeah, that's how you build that rapport, that relationship, because eventually they may help in another way where you can help them, right? And so if you're building that trust out of the gate, versus trying to push them into something they really don't need,
I
you shoot yourself
agree.
in the foot.
I agree. And that's what we try to teach our people. Uh, being honest is being honest and bringing somebody honest help. Sometimes telling them, hey, I am not the right solution for you. And more times than not, that person is going to take that and is going to really embody that. And they're going to come back to you with a different problem because they know that you're going to shoot them straight, whether you can solve it or not.
Yeah. So when you're starting your career and you're trying to figure out, hey, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? Were you envisioning a career in sales, or did you have a different path in mind?
No, look, I think sales to me really came by chance. somebody recently asked me if I knew that I was meant to be a salesperson. I don't think I knew that I was meant to be a salesperson. I just knew who I wasn't meant to be. And that was my parents were really, they had their heart set on me being a lawyer. Um,
Oh,
I've
wow.
proven to be an argumentative child, and they thought that they could turn that into a lawyer. But I knew that I was not destined to stay in school
Yeah.
for another 4 years past college. So sales came to me by chance. They were pushing for law school. I knew I did not want to go back to school. And people started making observations of how I was always naturally curious and always trying to connect people. And somebody said, well, why don't you stop connecting people and connect people to solutions? Which I had no clue what that meant.
Yeah.
And then they made a recommendation for a sales job. I went on an interview, got a sales job, and 20 some years later,
Yeah.
it's been a phenomenal career.
That's awesome. What was that first job like?
It was trials and tribulations. It taught me resilience. It was a lot of door knocking. It was a lot of rejection. It was a lot of not knowing how to deal with rejection, but realizing very quickly in my career that the sooner I forgot about that rejection, the sooner my real personality would come back out, and I would be able to start another genuine conversation.
Yeah.
And I think that is what taught me the most from that first sales job is get over your losses quickly and move on to the next one and let yourself come out.
Yeah. One of my best friends started his sales career that way, selling copiers. Literally, he would just go into a high-rise downtown and just start working. He learned that to evade security, he had to start at the top and work his way down, skip floors every once in a while, then loop back up to stay ahead of security. But he's like, it was nothing but rejection. And so he learned how to hustle, and like you just gotta, like you said, shed the rejection, keep hustling.
Chris, that was my first job when I got to South Florida, which was my second sales job, was selling copiers, and how I ended up meeting the CEO of World Emblem.
Oh, no kidding.
And I did the same thing. I used to take pride in wearing out my shoes. Like I got to go buy shoes. Well, why? Because I just went and knocked on 200 doors this week.
Yeah.
And the high rise analogy is perfect. I wish I learned that one sooner of learning to skip floors, because security would come looking for you. Are you soliciting? Well, no, I'm actually not soliciting. I'm just here to drop off a business card and meet somebody.
Right.
But
Yeah.
different interpretations for different people, and some of it saw it as soliciting.
Yeah. But it's all about the hustle, right? You just got to look for that next opportunity. It's right around the corner, next door down the hall.
It is, man. You're always one no away from your next yes.
Yeah.
And I forget the name of the title of the book. I think it's called 5 Feet from Gold or 3 Feet from Gold. Have you ever read it?
No, I haven't.
So it's a story of a guy who was mining a gold mine and literally gave up when he was feet away from the biggest payload ever in history. And the guy who bought that gold mine only had to mine that many feet, and boom, there it was. So just don't give up. You're just one no away from the next yes.
That was the story of my dating life earlier in my 20s.
I can relate.
Hey, we're taking a quick break to thank you for listening to and supporting the Sales Lead Dog podcast. I want to take a moment and tell you about my book, CRM Shouldn't Suck. If your CRM feels more like a black hole for data than something that actually helps your team sell, you're not alone. The book breaks down why CRMs fail for so many businesses and what you can do about it. No fluff, just real strategies that work. So go to crmshouldn'tsuck.com to order your free copy right now. That's right, we're giving it away. And while you're there, take 2 minutes to check out the CRM Impact Score. It's a quick diagnostic that shows you how your CRM is really performing, where it's helping you and where it's hurting you. You'll get a personalized report with clear, actionable next steps you can start right away to maximize your CRM investment. We've also got blogs, videos, and a bunch of other resources to help you finally get the results you were promised when you bought your CRM. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes of Sales Lead Dog. Okay, let's get back to this episode of the Sales Lead Dog podcast. So, what are the big lessons you learned from those early sales days that led you to your first leadership role?
Look, I think the lessons really were about trust the process, stick to the basics. And for me, it really started becoming embodying the power of repetition. Like just keep showing up and keep showing up as your best self. And that's why I mentioned early, like, look, you got to get over that rejection. You got to get over that no. Early on, those no's really put you down. And I started noticing that, if I had 4 or 5 no's along the way, I wouldn't show up as myself to the next, knocking on the door. Hey, I'm here, and you got to let that personality shine. And I think when you trust your instinct of being yourself, and you say, hey, look, I got to show up as that myself on the next call, you got to get over those things. So the power of repetition of like, I'm going to knock on the door and I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to show up with a smile and I'm going to bring the energy um, was very powerful for me. What really propelled me to the leadership role was when I started really looking forward, taking out those new people. Like, hey, there's a new guy who wants to take him out. I'll take him out.
Yeah.
Because there is an awesome energy about a new person. They don't know the bad habits. They don't have that, man, I've had a terrible month attitude. Like when you went out with somebody that had that negative attitude and energy to me is contagious.
Yeah.
I wanted that new energy around me. When you bring that new kid on, man, like they're looking to shine. They don't know right from wrong. And, you got to teach them, do some more listening that you're going to do talking. But man, I want that energy.
Yeah.
So that's really what started bringing me to the leadership. I started realizing I really liked dealing with the new people. And then as they went off on their own, when I would follow up with them, hey, what's working, what's not? And they'd say, hey, I would love for you to join me on X or Y call. And you got to go with them and you got to see some of the things you taught them and provide some feedback and that smile on that first deal. Like, man, that was almost as energetic as your own first deal. And it brought you back to that first deal. We all remember our first deal.
Oh, yeah.
You might not remember the 10th or the 20th, but we all remember that first deal. And like getting to see that first deal from others, that to me was energizing.
Yeah.
And that's how I started transitioning to a leadership role. Like, hey, I want to make other people successful too, not just myself.
Yeah. Was it a natural transition for you, or did you struggle in certain areas in those for early leadership roles?
Oh, I definitely struggled. Look, the positive, which I just told you about, that's a lot of like feeding your own ego a little bit of like I helped them get there and like feeding off that positive energy. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of negative aspects that come along with being a leader because you're so stuck in yourself. For me, the negative aspects of it were I had to get out of my own self. I had to get past my ego. It wasn't my way that was right. Like sometimes their way was even better, but I was trying to mold it into my way. Um, and then stepping in very soon, like when you saw things kind of go south, you wanted to jump right in and rescue. You're not there to be the hero. You're there to teach and teach them how to, not do it for them. I think that was one of my major struggles was jumping in and doing it for them and really robbing them of their individuality.
Mhm.
Because then there was no scalability. It was like, well, you're going to come in and you're going to rescue and you're going to do it. And okay, let's go do that again.
Yeah.
Well, what happens when I'm not there? Then
Right.
all of a sudden there was a decline.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a hard lesson for a lot of early young leaders is, and you have to learn it the hard way. I think a lot of developing as a leader, you have to fall on your face and learn from those mistakes. Same as when you're developing as a salesperson, like you got to learn from the failures and how do I improve? How do I make this, turn this failure into a win for the next one?
Agreed.
Yeah. What advice do you have for someone who's considering a transition into a leadership role?
Look, I think you have to ask yourself, what are you in it for? A lot of people think that leadership role is the next step, an evolution. But if you're in it for only your own personal benefits, it might not be the best role. I think a leadership role is really somebody who's going to be okay not being the one that's going to shine. To me, the leadership role is the guy who's sometimes clearing the landmines, removing the obstacles so somebody else can shine. It's about helping others develop and be greater than what they thought they could be. Um, and on the positive side, like if you're one of those people that spots talent, that you see something that somebody's not achieving, but you see that talent in them, and all you got to do is help pull it out and you're willing to do that over and over and over. I'm going to go back to the repetition. The power in repetition is not just for sales, it's also for sales leaders. We have to stay in it, and we have to stay true to do the boring work and help others shine and help others excel, exceed the goals that were put in front of them. That would be the advice I would give them. Hey, look, if you're willing to do that and it's not just about you, but you really want to make others be the star, you're a leader.
Yeah. It truly is being a coach, like it's, I always look at like, you're coaching the men's basketball team, the USA Dream Team in basketball. You've got some of the best players out there that you have to try to mold into a team. A lot of big egos, a lot of things, but you got to get them to play together. But you're not going to get a gold medal at the end. They're the ones getting the gold medal. And to me, that's very much in my mind like being a sales leader. That if you're doing it right, your team is the one getting the accolades, getting the medals.
I agree and full-heartedly try to embody that. It's not about, at the end of the day, when you broke the records, to me, it's not about the leader stepping in front of the microphone and telling everybody how we did it. It's about the team members doing it, and you kind of fade into the background. Again, it's clearing the landmines. It's clearing a path for them to go be successful and allowing them to stay productive in front of customers, not having to do the non-value add, right? Like, let's remove some of that non-value add. Somebody's got to do it. Yeah. And, sometimes it is part of the sales team to go do some of the administrative work. It's part of the role. And it might be boring, but we all have to do the boring. It's removing those obstacles that's going to prevent them from reaching the goal.
Do you have a background in sports?
Man, I played every sport known to man, was mediocre at all of them, but I showed up with passion. Yeah. I wanted to be the star, but I just didn't have the left and right foot or coordination.
Right.
But the heart was there.
Yeah. So how's that influenced, how you function as a sales leader?
Look, to me, sport is a big part of leadership in general. And I think sales just plays very hand in hand with sports. We have numbers to hit. They have a scoreboard. And to me, like the way that I tie it back, we have to be playing the game, but at the end of the day, we're not playing it for fun. We're playing this to win. And there's only one way to measure if we're winning or losing. It's the scoreboard.
Yeah.
So we always tie things back. Like we talk about KPIs and we talk about the end of month. Well, that's easy. Where's the scoreboard? If you put up a scoreboard, I think it brings out the best in people. Nobody wants to play for a tie. Right. Nobody definitely does not want to play to lose. And if you want to play to win, then I want you on my team.
Yeah. How do you create cohesiveness within your team?
Look, I think cohesiveness amongst high-performing salespeople sometimes can be a challenge, right? Mm-hmm. People want to be stars. I think as they learn and as they see that we don't always have to be the star and we're willing to share the ball or we're willing to share the spotlight, cohesiveness comes a little bit more natural. And that's about letting people shine when it is their turn to shine and making sure you recognize when that person is shining. And it's not really about crushing them when they're not. It's about just making sure the spotlight goes somewhere else. So we talk about, hey, what worked for you? And sharing those. We implemented something a couple years ago in our organization, which is a stand-up huddle early in the morning. And I'll tell you, it took us a long time to get to where it is today. It used to be about reciting our metrics and what'd you do yesterday. We've scratched a lot of that. We keep a quick scoreboard, a quick glance at the scoreboard. But then we talk about, hey, man, Chris, what worked for you yesterday? What didn't? What was a challenge for you yesterday? Yeah. Then we move on to somebody else, right? And I think that they found that cohesiveness comes because sometimes your challenges is a challenge that I'm also having. And they take it offline. Hey, man, how'd you do to overcome that? And that turns into a victory. Trust me, they want to talk about it on that call.
How'd you get people to make themselves vulnerable to truly own up to what they're struggling with? Because I imagine that is probably the toughest part of your stand-up.
Did you say how I got them there? Yeah, we're still working on that. We're okay. Still working on the vulnerability. I don't know if we're vulnerable yet, but we talk about it. And I'll tell you what one of the wonderful things is in our organization. Yeah. Our CEO, like he just recently posted something about his vulnerability. Right. And I'll tell you what, it's funny. I mean, like we're all grown men, but we still have people that we all kind of look up to. And when you see somebody in a position of leadership of 1,000 or 1,500 people talk about his vulnerability, all of a sudden that word becomes a little bit more acceptable. Right. So I think we do it by making ourselves vulnerable and saying, hey, look, there's no shame in this, and I'm struggling with this, and if one of you guys can help, please help me. I think we talk about asking for help.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're quite there yet. I think that's still a journey.
It is. I came across this article a long time ago, and then it just came up in my feed last week. Um, Former CEO of Ford, he came over from Boeing. He was the CEO of Boeing, went into Ford back when Ford was really struggling. All the car companies are taking bailouts from the government. Ford did not. And he came in with a totally different mindset where he'd bring in an executive team and they all had these big binders of their projects, whatever project they were working on, whatever cars they were working on. And they were all color coded, red, yellow, green. And all he ever saw in anybody's binders was green. And so he called them out like this, basically this is bullshit. There's no way everything's green. What's really going on? And when he finally able was to crack that code of getting people to be vulnerable and own up that, hey, we're struggling in these areas and showing that, hey, there's a path forward. Let's make some decisions to remove those obstacles, as you were saying. Within a few months, everybody's book was like a rainbow of, red, green, and yellow. Now people were vulnerable and willing to own up to what's not working. So how can we collaborate and solve these problems and truly move the company forward? It has to come from the top. That's a story I've always tried to remember, that the top has to be vulnerable. They have to own up that I'm not perfect. I'm not any more perfect than the rest of you. We all have our struggles. We need to own it and share it. And how can we work together to address these issues?
It's funny. You mentioned the red, yellow, green. So we have done a red, yellow, green system for a long time. We've recently started going down more of a lean methodology, but it brings back the memories of the red, yellow, green. And like one of the things we would always talk about, like, hey, look, if you're green, quarter in, quarter out, quarter in, quarter out, like it's either we're not being honest or the goal's too low.
Right.
Like
we're not pushing hard enough.
And I think that there's a huge mindset to say, hey, look, it's okay to be yellow.
Yeah.
And it's even okay to be red if we have a plan to get out of red.
Right.
So thanks for the reminder. I'm going to bring that back to my team because it's been some time since we've talked about that. But again, like in order for us to really push, because one thing about World Emblem, we're always trying to push out of our comfort zone, and we set goals. Like we talk about BHAGs, right? The big, hairy, audacious goals.
I love those. Yeah.
But sometimes like the BHAG is like, we're not really BHAGing. We're just giving ourselves a layup so we can hit that green.
Right.
So you just gave me a really good reminder of go back to the team and say, hey guys, are we setting these goals to really push ourselves? Because if we look back and we're like, we're green, green, green.
Yeah.
One, are we being honest? Do we really need to dig into these deeper? Or are we just setting our goals to be layups?
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, that's it. It's very easy and tempting to do that, to get to just kind of lay back into the comfort zone. But like, are you truly driving towards the whatever strategic goals the leadership team has established for the organization? Are we truly doing what we need to move the needle for our business? That's hard stuff. It's like, especially, the market's changing all the time. As you guys, like you said, early on, you guys see that barometer. You are the barometer for what's going on. And so it's like, how are we going to react when we start seeing these changes?
Very true.
Yeah. So what are you looking for when you're considering tapping someone on the shoulder and say, hey, I want you to consider a leadership role?
That's a tricky one. Again, I think people naturally think leadership is the next step. But I think like when I look at leadership, it's those guys or those girls that are stepping in front of a problem that may not necessarily be their standard work to do, right? Like, and they're saying, hey, look, how can I help you? Like, I'm stepping outside. I have to do all my own stuff, but now I'm willing to take on your challenges as well. And how can I help you find a solution? People that are going out of their way to help others succeed, right? And they're putting the others' needs at the same level as their own. I'm going to caution myself not to say before theirs, because I think that could also be an issue. Yes. You still got to deliver on your promises. But if I'm making somebody else's problems at the same level as mine, like now we're both going to do it. and I'm going to put myself in that line of fire. That to me is somebody that's a leader.
Yeah.
And that's somebody that's going to naturally just start rising, and eventually get promoted into a role.
What's a story of vulnerability you share with your young leaders that you're trying to develop? Lessons learned that you talked about some here, but what's the one you share?
So look, I don't know if there's one that I constantly share, but
Yeah,
I am um, open to sharing like some of the deals that I've lost, right?
yeah,
And not because the company failed, but because I failed. And to me, those deals that I lost early on in my career, they all boil down to one thing. I didn't stay in the fight long enough. I thought it was lost before it really was lost.
yeah,
And then when all the cards end up unfolding and like
yeah,
the conversations come out, it's like, wait, so all I do would has to stay in it a little bit longer,
yeah,
and I would have had a fighting chance to get it.
yeah,
And 9 times out of 10, those were the reasons, right? It's like we're very quick to say cut bait, right? As
yeah,
opposed to let me stay in this a little bit longer. Let me figure out what I need to do. And when you see that somebody else was willing to do that, that's when the pain sets in. Somebody else was willing to stay in this longer than I was.
yeah,
Ooh. And you share that with younger sales reps. Um, let's make sure that we're not cutting bait too soon.
yeah,
Have we exhausted all of our options? Look, we've already invested all this time and energy,
yeah,
and we've
yeah,
built this relationship. How can we stay in it a little bit longer?
yeah. I tell you, that's something. I just had that phone call today over lunch, talking to a prospect where, they wanted huge. So we scoped out huge for them and they were like, wow, that's expensive. Okay. And so then their executive's like, I'm not even sure we're going to move forward with this because we weren't expecting that price tag. Okay. Well, how about we do this tiny little thing right here to help you over this little hurdle that you have? Because I know if we get our foot in the door in an advisory role, whatever it is, where we're truly helping them and guiding them, we'll be fine. So it's like, how do what windows open? What doors open? Where can I find some way to get in and start building that relationship?
That's such an accurate description of sales. It's not about the home run.
Yeah.
It's about let's start getting some base hits. Let's bump
Yeah.
my way onto first,
Yeah.
but let's get a win under our belt.
Yeah.
And again, like I think some of us just stay in it for that huge home run,
Yeah.
and you end up leaving flustered, and somebody else got a couple base hits,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden like they're getting the guy home, and it's like, yeah, I mean that's painful, right?
Oh yeah. Like I'm not looking for customers for the next 6 months. I want them for the next 6, 8, 10 years.
I'm with you.
And it's like, no, I don't. To me, that's like you got to play the long game.
It is. And sometimes that's easy to forget, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes like and we all fall in love when there is that, they ask you for that huge proposal. They want to go huge.
Yeah.
And you fall in love with the potential of that huge deal.
Yep.
And then we put these blinders on and it's all about the huge deal.
Yeah.
And you might end up losing out on that huge deal. And somebody might end up landing that huge deal by landing a couple small deals along the way.
That's right. That's right.
So yeah, it's powerful, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's like it's all about you got to just figure out, just got to get your foot in the door, and just go from there.
I agree.
Sometimes you're going in through the front door or the loading dock, as it may be, if it's a really big one. But sometimes you're climbing through a second story window.
Well, I mean, it kind of sounds like you know our business well. We go through a lot of loading docks,
Yeah.
uh,
Oh yeah.
physically,
Yeah.
and a lot of appointments in our world happen, in stock rooms and in warehouses,
Yeah.
and they lead you into the C-suite. But
Yeah.
those you got to get in somewhere, and sometimes you're helping somebody in the back of the house getting a victory in, and it turns out that they have direct communication with the CEO who is looking for a much bigger solution, but you were able to resolve a couple of their problems.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like you asked me early in our conversation, what are the foundations? And it's like when you're looking to help and you're genuinely looking to help, even if you find one of those small solutions and you're genuinely looking to help, that's going to lead you to a bigger one.
Yeah.
Just because.
Yeah. Oh yeah. CRM, do you love it or do you hate it?
Can I tell you I love and hate it?
Yeah, totally.
All right. I love and hate it. Um, look, I put myself in my rep's shoes.
Yeah.
I know how painful it is to get to your hotel after seeing 3 appointments, driving 7 hours, and you had dinner at 9 o'clock at night, and now I got to log my stuff.
Yep.
I know the pain of it,
Yep.
but I also know the power when we have the information. And I'm starting to see the power that's coming with some of the AI and the bots that CRMs are starting to utilize. That's going to help ease some of the other pain points that we have. When somebody asks us for forecast, man, that's one of my pains.
Oh, yeah.
I am a terrible forecaster. Like forecast. Let's grab a dartboard.
Yeah. Where's my magic 8-ball? You know?
Yeah, exactly. But there are much smarter minds out there figuring these algorithms that are helping us forecast much more accurately by looking at data, but only if we put it in CRM.
Right.
So they have no way of helping us if we're not putting this stuff in there.
Yeah.
So I almost say it like, look, and I have this conversation with marketing sometimes, like, look, we're the soldiers. We're on the front line. The colonels and the smart people, they're back there sending us the orders. But it's really hard for them to get us those orders on how to help us be more accurate if we're not giving them the ammunition by plugging that in. So for me, CRM is love-hate. Yeah. I know how tedious it can be. And like, look, there's a lot of technology in place that has made it a lot easier. And the reality of it is we don't need a dissertation. We don't need an encyclopedia put in there. We just need some basic stuff. Yeah. Let's get it in there.
Yeah.
And hopefully some other very smart geniuses are in the background taking a look at that saying, hey, you guys forgot to do this. But you know where that loading dock, Chris, is that you're trying to get into that building? Here's where it is. This is what the data is telling us. And the reality is, as salespeople, we don't spend a lot of time looking at those analytics unless somebody else is providing them for us.
Right.
And they're broken down and they're easy for us to digest because we're going from conversation to conversation. That's where we should be.
Yep.
They're not having those conversations. They don't have the skill sets to have the conversations, but they have the skill sets to give us the data broken down in a way I can digest it. So that's super long answer, man.
That is the key, though. And I have that conversation all the time that if you truly want to enable your sales team, you have to give them information that's consumable. You don't want them to be data scientists where they're trying to figure this stuff out all on their own. That's not their job. That's not their role. And they're going to suck at it if you think they can do it. You're spinning your wheels. You've got to set your CRM up in a way that it's feeding that actionable items to the sales team so they can go do their jobs and hit it out of the park for you. That's true CRM value.
I am 100% aligned with you. And like you said, something that made me think of like a sports analogy. It's like you're asking your down lineman to go play wide receiver or to play point guard. It's like, look, he's an athlete, but he's not that athlete. Like we're all part of the team.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just don't have the certain skill sets, just like other team players don't have the skill sets that the sales guys have. Yeah. And if CRM is used properly and the team is really using it properly, we're able to provide the information that salesperson needs in order to get in front of a potential opportunity with the right information that's going to make an impact for them in that conversation.
Yes. I call that the why. You have to come up with a why message for your frontline team of why CRM is important to not only them, but the downstream impact. It begins with why it's important to them in their role. You know, if we have CRM set up the correct way and you're using CRM the correct way, we're going to be able to feed you data that's going to help you maximize your compensation. I mean, because that's usually number one with most people, most salespeople is I want to hit my numbers. And so how is CRM going to help me do that?
It's about hitting your numbers. It's about maximizing your compensation. But I'm going to go one step further. I'm going to say it's about using our time properly.
Yeah.
Because that is that's the one piece that I think we're all getting more and more limited on, right? We all have the same number of hours in the day, but how many hours away from my family, away from the other things that I want to be doing, do I really want to spend here? But if we have the information to use those hours properly, it's going to allow you to maximize the amount of hours that you're putting in order to get that output, or else you're going to be burning the candle on both ends. And we know what that does to good salespeople.
Oh, it does. It really wears them out.
It wears them out. But some of them are going to be willing to put those hours on. You know, you'll see them working 13, 14 hours. But it's like, wait a second. If we were able to give you the right information to have the right conversation at the right time,
Yeah.
would you be able to get the same things done in 8?
Yeah.
And what's the happiness level of that guy?
Oh yeah, it's going to go through the roof. And his family's going to be happy. Significant others are going to be happy.
You
All the
think
way
he's going to be
around, it's
looking
gonna
for
be
you
better.
think he's going to be looking for another sales job?
No, hell no, no.
No.
He's like, no, I'm not
He's
leaving this place. This place is setting me up to succeed.
he's hitting his goals. He's
Yep.
making the money he wants to make, and
Yep.
he's doing it in a amount of time
Yep.
that's acceptable.
Yeah, yeah.
He's probably going to be hitting all the other numbers as well, but he's going to
Yeah.
be putting in 14 hours. He's not happy.
No, he's not happy at all. He's hearing it from both ends. Like, yeah, no, it's brutal. What's your single biggest pain point with CRM?
Right now, it's the time. It's the time that we're spending working in it, right? I don't think that we're in a place that it's intuitive enough
Yeah.
that it can be like what we just described. Like I know what it can be.
Yep.
And look, one of the things that I pride myself, I'm constantly trying to learn. Somebody once told me you're a lifelong learner.
Yep.
And that was to me was like, wow, dude, I am a lifelong learner. And now it's like an honor badge. And as you educate yourself on the technology that's coming, that's already in place in some places,
Yep.
with CRM, and you look at like the information that's being fed back.
Yeah.
My pain is we are spending a lot of time and we're still not getting the result, right? So we're still feeding it a lot.
Yep.
And we might not be feeding it the right information, right? There's a lot of notes that take place that are not intuitive enough in order for us to extract the data from.
Right.
We have a lot of fields that we're still playing with, but I once heard somebody say too much data is as dangerous as not enough data.
Mm-hmm.
I think my pain is like we're trying to figure out the balance of those two.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Now that's really the hard part. It's because you can't go to your team and say, we need more data. Why? I'm spending much time in CRM already. Like I cannot possibly feed you more data. You really have to have, someone on the back end's got to do the heavy lifting to figure out what is that data that truly is going to drive action, that truly is going to help us guide them to where they should be spending their time. Because time is the one thing you can't get more of.
This week, somebody told me that it is the greatest currency left on to man.
Yeah.
Is time.
Yeah. And it's only getting more and more precious, I think, because we're expected to do more every year. That just never seems to go down. But that's where I think AI can truly have an impact. That's the potential is like have AI do the grunt work, have me focus on where I can truly add value. That's the goal. So,
yeah.
Nick, we are at our time here on Sales Lead Dog. This is one of those conversations I could definitely keep going. If people want to reach out and connect with you, if they want to learn more about World Emblem, what's the best way for them to do that?
Look, World Emblem, www.worldemblem.com. Myself, Nicolas Restrepo on LinkedIn. Either one of those, you'll find me and you'll find the company as well.
Awesome. So if you didn't catch that, don't worry about it. We have it in our show notes at impellercrm.com/sales lead dog, where you'll find not only this episode of Sales Lead Dog, but our 150 plus episodes. Be sure to check that out. Be sure to subscribe. That helps us out a ton. Nick, thank you so much for coming on the show and welcome to the Sales Lead Dog Pack.
Chris, I appreciate you having me.
As we end this discussion on Sales Lead Dog, be sure to subscribe to catch all our episodes. On social media, follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Watch the videos on YouTube, and you can also find our episodes on our website at impellercrm.com/Sales Lead Dog. Sales Lead Dog is supported by Impeller CRM, delivering objectively better CRM for business, guaranteed.